just not okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. We've seen a bit more carry top lane action coming out in the LPL. So maybe the Hecarim's a champion they look to, but World Elite, they've done their homework here in these bans.
Yeah, and Barker going to be focused here as well. I mean, it is going to leave a lot of power picks up, but with World Elite having first pick, especially in this first game, that's okay. I mean, they can pick away the likes of the Cassidy and the Lissandra, the big picks that they're going to want to lock down. Nidalee's going to be banned away from Spirit here as well. Intelligent decision. And we'll see whether Snake decide to take away the Rek'Sai here as well, but it is going to be Ninja Zari taken off the board.
Yeah, I like that ban a lot. Ninja's actually shown a decent amount of proficiency on Ari, and she's just so strong that I don't think you want to play against her. Barker really getting picked on here, though.
Yeah, he is. And I have a feeling that if that Cassidy gets left open, that is going to be going straight to Ninja.
I mean, Snake might feel like they have to ban it, but that would leave Lissandra open as well. The fact that there's so many target bans have hit Snake, both the jungler and the mid laner have eaten 1 to 2 bans respectively, that actually leaves a lot of power picks open. And if there's one thing we can say about Flandre in particular, both his Lissandra and his Cassidy are outstanding.
Oh, yeah, terrifying. They actually have the opportunity to they're going to ban away the Rek'Sai. I love this ban because Spirit has been focusing on both of those champions, Nidalee and Rek'Sai, almost exclusively. World Elite have to think very hard about the opportunities they want to give Snake in this first round of picks for the red side.
Yeah, now Spirit can take Jarvan here. That's probably the big thing that not banning it away gives them to. But if they want to take Cassidy, they can give it. They do, actually.
Yeah, they are going to take away the Cassidy. I think that's an intelligent idea because, of course, Barker and Flandre both fantastic on that champion. But now, Flandre's Rumble is available. Beast can hop onto that Jarvan 4 if he wants to. There are a lot of opportunities here, but I think Lissandra needs to be locked in at the same time.
Yeah, I would just take Jarvan Lissandra here if I was Snake. The champions are both so good. Spirit's a great Jarvan player. Beast obviously is a good Jarvan player, so we've already talked about how much he needs an aggressive jungler. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't take Lissandra here, but Snake might think otherwise. In fact, they do.
They think very differently to us. In fact, we may have missed a memo here, of course, because they do not look like Lissandra and Jarvan, and see whether this is going to help out World Elite in their choices of maybe picking up the Jarvan Lissandra themselves.
They're in fact not even close to Jarvan Lissandra, Amakai, and Kolkivin.
No.
Those are the picks Snake want to go for. Very different from Crystal especially. It's funny to see these hypercarry players like SDYZ and maybe even now like Crystal starting to pick up the Corki, because Corki honestly might just be the league's best AD carry.
Yeah, well, it's true. And I mean, Crystal was struggling in the Corki matchup in their previous game, and it looks like UJ actually looking to pick the Janna away from Ella here potentially.
They might even take something else as well. I mean, I think the reason Snake aren't giving away Lissandra is that they know that Cassidy's ninjas. Aluka doesn't play mages in the top lane, so I actually
that's a good point.
I actually like the fact they leave it up, take something else, take away one of the tanks, and they're going to leave Aluka with Nah.
Yeah, and Flandre plays an aggressive Maokai in that top lane as well, and we'll see whether Aluka can deal with it. But, I mean, he's on his Gnar, and his Gnar has been consistently improving over the weeks. He's been looking better and better. Ella, not even considering the Janna here. It might be an Annie, potentially. And Snake, I mean, they've thrown curveballs before, and we can't really expect anything. I mean, you can't really say, look, this is what they're going to go for, because this is Snake, this is Flandre. I mean, that might be a support Maokai.
It might be, yeah. I was actually just thinking that when you mentioned it in the top lane, but it seems like Flandre might just take it here. I do love these picks, though, from Snake. Very solid.
Yeah, and sort of early focus here as well from Beast. Can be aggressive on that Lee Sin, but we saw his Lee Sin play in their matchup against King, and it didn't quite work out.
I mean, it's just not the same jungler for Beast. He likes dueling the enemy jungler, likes aggressively counter-jungling and putting pressure, and Lee Sin's okay at these things, but as far as like aggressively counter-jungling like Nunu does, or even dueling and putting a lot of pressure on early like Jarvan, Lee Sin just kind of does a little bit of everything well, but he doesn't do either the counter-jungling or the pressuring, probably as well as either Nunu or Jarvan does for me.
Yeah, and STYZ actually looking for this Lucian pseudo counterpick to Corki here.
Yeah, we've actually started seeing a little bit of this, I feel like, just around the world. They are going to lock it in, it seems like, and I like the Morgana takeaway there as well on support. But yeah, I mean, Corki, we've talked about him a lot. His kit, especially in the early levels, is almost entirely based around Phosphorus Bomb. So
yeah,
if you have a champion that can easily dodge it, Sivir Spellshield comes to mind. Or in this case, obviously, Lucian's general mobility, you can win trades very easily against a champion like Corki.
Oh my goodness, I really hope this happens.
We'll see. I mean, Barker has to go to something else. Both Azir and Xerath are banned out this game.
Yeah, and Victor as well, 100% win rate so far in the LPL.
Yes, that's true. He does. Of 2 games played, he is 2 for 0 there. Thank you, Raphael, for bringing that one out to the world. And they might
actually
do it.
I think it's 3 games in. No, 2. You are correct. You are correct.
But you are going to get your wish, Atlas.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Barker has his champions taken away from him or banned away, and of course going to just hop straight onto the Victor,
And
no problem.
To be honest with you, if we compare Victor to champions like Azir and Xerath, they actually match up somewhat favorably as far as playstyle goes. They're immobile, they've got good zoning and good burst and kind of tricky range abilities and skill shots to use. Like, obviously we haven't seen Baka play Victor yet. Not many people have been playing him recently, but as far as if I was going to give a new champion to Baka, I might go to something like Victor. It seems to suit his style.
Well, that's really true, and I like it in this matchup against Kassadin as well. I mean, your Q works very similarly. Of course, with Victor, you do manage to shield away any kind of damage. But of course, if you get the auto attack after the Q coming through on Victor, that is such gigantic burst damage, even early on here in the lane.
Yeah, that matchup, obviously we haven't seen very much of it, but the mid lane matchup's interesting. The Q is obviously great against any melee champion like Kassadin. This is definitely where we're going to be focusing Ninja vs. Baka in that mid lane. I feel like the E, especially once you get the augment for the Death Ray, is quite a lot better just because Kassadin's Q doesn't really trade against all of Victor's damage, and you're probably going to lose a burst trade. Victor does not like when people get on top of him. That's certainly true, but Victor can navigate those matchups reasonably well. His laning's kind of, not air, but it's sort of, not. It's boring, like you just want to farm, but his mid-game is amazing, and if Snake, they've shown anything, it's pretty strong mid-games.
Yeah, and if you get Rift Walked on, you can just put a gravity field on yourself, and you're going to get stunned, Kassadin. That's what's going to happen. I mean, the activation time is going to be enough in order to get you.
Victor brawls quite well as a mage as well. He's got the Q with the shield and speed, and if he lands his E, he just does so much damage when it's augmented. So we haven't seen that much Victor. We're starting to see more of him. Very excited to see how Baka plays.
Yeah, we'll see how it comes through. And of course, you know, he's been sitting sort of like slowly getting buffed and buffed and buffed over the patches, and we haven't seen him quite come out into competitive play yet. And it might be the case that now that he's getting a bit of a look in, bit of a strong pick.
Yeah, and he started to pick up not just traction in the LPL, but around the world as well. So people are kind of tuned into the fact that Victor is a champion that's now a thing, but we haven't seen much of it in the LPL. Again, we're still 5.2, quite a few patches behind, but again, the Chinese are still adapting. Even though the patch isn't changing, they're looking around the world, what's being picked, what's cool. In fact, I think Vega might have dropped through picks and bans,
hang on
enough.
a second, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, no, Vega just, no one even looked.
And, I mean, that's fine. Like, these teams clearly have different priority, right? So, I mean, we're going to get Victor. I'm kind of okay that Vega's not in the game. Yeah,
and I wonder whether that was banned away because, I mean, wasn't picked up based on, you know, the first picks coming through. Maybe Kassadin can Rift Walk over Event Horizon, and that makes it okay. But I don't actually understand why he wouldn't be picked because he's been so successful.
I'm trying to think of the support picks that we have. I feel like they just wanted more comfort picks is probably the best. I think we have Thresh Janna from memories as supports, which...
Yeah, and we don't have any martyrs here, and, you know, the players that really want to try something new, maybe Low from OMG, of course, brings out Maokai support. He'd be more than happy to bring out anything there on the bottom side of the map. But, of course, you know, UJ and Ella wanting to play Janna and Thresh most of the time, but they've stepped out of their comfort zone just a little bit.
Yeah, and that's okay. Again, the comps are quite interesting here.
Yeah.
I'm really going to focus on how well Beast does on this Lee Sin. Again, it suits his style. It's another aggressive style jungler. He can get ahead on it, but you have to do a lot of work on Lee Sin, I feel like. He does, again, everything very well, kind of like Jarvan used to, I guess still currently does on this patch. But even he's seen a big drop-off with Vi and Rek'Sai becoming popular.
Yeah.
It suits Beast's style. I don't know when... If Vi Rek'Sai become like the gold standard for junglers, I feel like Beast loses a lot of his power as a player. But that's kind of with Snake. Like, part of their team is very adaptive, and they've got Flounder who can do stuff, and they can definitely mix it up. Crystal as well has a very deep champion pool, but some of the players don't. They really rely on playing a certain way and playing it very well.
Yeah, well, it's true. And they have been innovators, of course. You know, they were the ones that brought sort of Nunu into the LPL here as well and really started smashing that one out. It's sort of for the next round of Nunu. Of course, Nunu has gone in and out of favor for quite some time, but sort of Beast came through and made Nunu look like this completely broken champion that's just able to win every game, and it was just ridiculous. So now that teams are sort of adapting, realizing what's going on, might be, you know, Baka picking up this Victor that's really going to throw enough of a monkey wrench into the works to really start this Snake hype train rolling again.
Yeah, and again, if Snake will become an absolutely terrifying team, if they can ever grow their champion pools enough to just have so many threats that you can't ban one player out. That's probably the big thing there. I mean, we saw that World Elite threw 3 bans at them, 2 mid lane bans and a jungle ban. And also picked away, I think, Jarvan there as well, because Snake didn't want to take it in their first rotation of picks. So they've got a lot to do there.
Yeah, well, we'll see as we hop onto the Rift. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with World Elite taking on Snake and Spirit already taking a Sonic Wave to the back of the head as we are already 3.5 minutes into this game. Phosphorus Bomb going to find a couple of members here as well. As pace of time, let's just have a look at what happened in the early phase of this game.
You had to jump through, just kind of looking down here. Actually, just a kill already. Looks like an assist being given to Lee Sin and Victor. So Maokai actually got involved for the first kill. Flandre off to a good start here. As we kind of look back through, we have had a lane swap happen also. So both Flandre and Aluka are going to be kind of on a bit of a timer as far as their early CS goes. But this lane swap honestly is probably fine for both teams.
Yeah, and Baka just going more than happily here in this mid lane here as well against Ninja. And both of these players, you know, just farming it out fairly well and very, very even, of course. A bit more of a stack of minions here for Ninja, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
is Kassan doing fine?
Yeah, I mean, Ninja will be fine. Kassan is actually surprisingly safe in a number of matchups here. I think the interesting thing that Buck is doing here, going aggressive, is Flandre.
Yeah, Flandre in a lot of trouble. STYZ looking for the kill. The shield to come through from Ella, though, and he's going to be A-OK. STYZ taking a lot of turret shots. He's going to be fine. Yeah,
very nicely timed swoop in there, actually, by Ella, making sure that everything was okay. And what I did want to point out for Baka there is he's actually got 2 points in his Q and 2 points in his E. No gravity field early, which does make a lot of sense. It's really just a utility spell for the most part. You only need a point in it. So Baka wants to get more aggressive, knows that he has to try and fight Kassan and early. Really smart skill point choice there.
Yeah, and of course, probably only wants it available for when Ninja hits that level 6, because before that, not really going to be too much of a problem, depending on whether Spirit is going to be hanging around. So just knows that he's got a little bit more pressure here in this lane, and see what happens and when he actually manages to pick up that spell.
Yeah, we'll see Luca now back in the top as well. Up against Crystal this time around. 80 carries, both fine in any sort of swap situation, but seems like no one's really gotten a big CS lead. In fact, Flandre falling a little bit behind now. Nah does have a slight 1v2 advantage, sorry, given that he is range him enough on a lot of the time.
Yeah, Death Ray coming down on a Ninja here in the mid lane as well as... Yeah, you're right. I mean, Nah just generally okay, and it is going to be a 2v2 situation here in this bottom lane as well, where the range advantage is definitely going to be helping STYZ, and in the top lane, I mean, Corki versus Nah, I mean, they've basically got the same range. It's just like a 1v1.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that obviously whenever you have this swaps, you actually isolate all Spirit, though.
Oh, Flandre actually finds him as well. That was a very interesting interaction. Takes the Dark Binding here as well as the Exhaust to come down onto Spirit. They're committing onto this one. The Arcane Smash here as well. Baka actually flashing over the top, and there's the ultimate to come down as well. Spirit just flags and drags his way out of it. UJ cops the end of that one, but it is going to be okay as all the members of World Elite survive.
Yeah, decent exchange coming in there, but no one actually going down. So a lot of spells and cooldowns traded back and forth, but no one actually able to get on top of it. Snake, though, might get the better end of it. They're on top of the dragon.
Yeah, Beast actually very healthy here as well at level 4. Flandre going to help out at the same time, and seems to me like this dragon might be just going down.
Yeah, I mean, Snake, again, good pressure there moving in. Flandre just kind of walk down from the bottom side of the map. It's weird to see a team in a lane swap do well there, but they leave Crystal up the top. Nah can't join in to fight, and Snake pick up their first dragon.
Yeah, Crystal actually hitting level 6 first here as well, forcing Luca to bounce out of the way of that Phosphorus Bomb. Usually going to find Ella here. Dark Binding not going to land, but just the tip of that Piercing Light going to find tail end of Ella as well, as Flandre just trying to clear out these creeps, and he's caught back up.
Yeah, I mean, we've broken back down into 2 different 2v2 lanes here, and we actually see this a lot in lane swap situations. I feel like if you can keep your AD carry safely in a 1v1 against the top lane, and we see this a lot with Graves, Imp actually from LGD, seems to have it happen all the time for about a 2-week period. He was doing it so much, where the experience matters so much to these short-range caster ADs, so there's just a lot more benefit that you get out from just the free farm and the experience especially.
Yeah, and actually looking here in the mid lane, we've already got that Death Ray upgraded here as well from Baka, so going for as much wave clear as he possibly can. Of course, the double tap onto the minions here with that Death Ray just clears them out so effectively, as you can see just there.
Yeah, and this is sort of the thing about Victor. Very safe, very strong wave clear, especially now that he's augmented up the Hex Core there as well. And this is exactly what Snake want to be doing. Get aggressive, put some wards down, keep the mid laner safe and farming, keep the AD carry safe and farming, and swell up for a very big mid-game fight around the 2nd, 3rd dragon and just go massive.
Yeah, and you can see, wow, Baka just eliminates those creeps. There's no shoving in to be done here from Ninja, as not going to worry about that one at all. And of course, once Baka does upgrade that Hex Core once again, and gets the extra 30% movement speed on Q as well. I mean, he's got Ghost and Flash at the same time. This Victor is going to be able to get in range for all of these Qs because also, when he gets some cooldown reduction, that thing is like a machine gun. Yeah,
and that's sort of the biggest bottleneck with Victor in general is just mobility. I mean, cooldown reduction's nice, like you mentioned, but for the one, he's very short-ranged mage, interestingly enough, despite Death Ray having very long range because you can extend it out from its target zone and get it to fire out. But Q's a short-range spell. His ultimate Chaos Storm's very short as well. You really just need to get in there as best you can and use all of your abilities in short range to keep moving around and doing damage. And that's why Flash Ghost and the general mobility from Q that you mentioned with the upgrade is so good.
Yes, so important. Very similar to the likes of, Twisted Fate, who I guess also has the wild cards for a little bit more range, but wants to be able to hit that pick a card at any opportunity. And, Victor going to have a very similar option.
Yes, we do see back in the top. We're actually moving a lot of people around here in this lane, so a lot of movement happening. No one's actually falling too far behind in CS, which is good to know, but I guess Bodley would rather just keep Flandre down. It looks like he might be going for a Rod of Ages, but he does have a Catalyst, so can go Righteous Glory if he wants, but I think Flandre should probably make not the selfish choice this game, just go for the teamfight Righteous Glory, because if this keeps happening, keeps getting swapped on, he might not ever get enough farm to get the Snowball Rod of Ages going.
Yeah, and there's the fact that STYZ here on this Lucian as well is going to have a much earlier power spike than sort of any other Infinity Edge user here as well, because he's just able to weave so many more auto attacks in with that Light Slinger passive as well. So see whether that is going to help out. He does have that cloth armor, so I think you might be right with the Righteous Glory decision.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for Flandre. Again, in a lane swap situation, you can't really try and snowball, so just one of the things where, make sure you keep it safe and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, no problem here at all, as Barker might be getting some attention from Spirit, who's going to flag and drag. There's the Cataclysm as well. Death Ray right on top. Chaos Storm doing a lot of damage. Gravity Field not going to quite find it. And Ninja with a Force Pulse. Easily going to get this one done. Flandre going to use his Twisted Advance onto Ninja, but that Rift Walk is going to be back up. It's going to be absolutely fine. As Crystal, he's getting cold here on the bottom side. Oh, the heal just in time. And there's the flash over the Phosphorus Bomb. I mean, you're definitely dead, Crystal, but STYZ, wow, playing beautifully. Aluka actually forced to bounce out of the way of this one as Beast came round. But Snake, you have to be careful, boys.
And this keeps happening with Flandre as well. He loves to teleport aggressively and really just threaten the cooldown all the time. But he came in level 6 to the level 8 Cassidy, and it's just nothing that Maokai can do. He's been kept down in the lane swap. Like, realistically, after Barker's already dead, what are you going to do there? And a great use of all the summoner spells there by STYZ. Again, we talk about Lucian's mobility, finally able to catch the Corki.
Yeah, and Crystal sort of nothing he could do there. Of course, BF sort of a lot better than the item choices that Crystal had with the, little bits of Trinity Force coming through. I mean, needs to have that item completed before he's really going to be a problem in these fights. And that definitely being demonstrated there with that 1v1.
Yeah, I feel like I say this a lot in any sort of flat AD versus Trinity Force matchup, and it does definitely change based on the specific matchup. Here I think Lucian actually has a very big edge at this stage, and the general idea is that if you scale a flat AD well versus someone that's just building the parts of the Trinity Force, you're going to do so much better with that flat AD while they're getting to that big purchase. And of course, the matchup usually swaps back once they finally get their T-Force.
Yeah, but of course, if they manage to get that item, as Riftwalk actually comes down here onto Barker as well. Gravity Field to try and zone him out as Death Ray does a fair bit of follow-up damage. Beast was coming in. But Spirit, again, still lurking. Flash now available for Barker in order to get him to safety. But you have to think that may not necessarily be enough.
No, and Spirit, taking his time there and trying to camp this mid lane again. But Ninja's totally fine after that first gank. And that is one of the biggest weaknesses of Victor. He can fall behind in lane early just because he's such an easy game.
Yeah, it's true. He's managing to get a little bit of health back here with those potions that he has picked up. So he's going to be okay. Has picked up the Fetish Codex here as well, so probably looking towards that Morellonomicon for his next buy. Might even go for the Athenes on Holy Grail for a more defensive option.
We'll have to see here. I think Barker is going to go Morellonomicon. That seems to be, from the Victors we've seen already, just the item they want. Because realistically, you're an aggressive mage. You don't really run around. Even though you have some sustained damage elements, Victor's a very weird champion. Even though you have some sustained damage elements to your kit, you kind of move between in waves of burst rather than bursting all at once, but you're not very good at, say, like Cassiopeia-esque sustained damage. So
yeah.
You need to be moving around consistently, using your CDR, and ultimately you just want to be aggressive, especially against Na, who looks like he might be building Spirit Visage.
Yeah, it does have a Giant's Belt there as well, so lots of health to come through from Aluka. Of course, definitely knows how to build a tank. does Luca. I mean,
Yes.
that's basically all he does.
And, you know, it's kind of like Pokemon, I guess, from IG, who only plays tanks, although I think we have a bit of a scuffle. Ella is in trouble.
Yeah, no, not in trouble. No, just Ella's dead. Ella's definitely dead.
And he's going to be a dragon, looks like, for World Elite.
Yeah, really nicely done here. World Elite able to answer the early dragon pickup from Snake. And Snake sort of, after a really great early showing, sort of just dropping the ball a little bit.
I mean, it's the same thing. Beast has one assist to his name, which was the first blood that unfortunately we didn't get to see. And from that, it's just been a bit of a static early game. Beast, you know, when Lee Sin has to get in the enemy jungle's face and really bully them, just can't, honestly. Spirit's Jarvan is very good. Spirit also loves to fight the enemy jungle. I mean, they're going to try and steal away here, but Beast just hasn't been as proactive as he would like.
Yeah, they do steal the blue, so I guess that's going to be traded away here from World Elite, who did manage to secure that one as well. Again, managing to re-pick up some vision here around their own jungle here, especially on the blue side for Snake, but there is still a pink ward hanging out there. I mean, Snake in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, probably important to remember as well that that Trinity Force is really important for Snake's team comp here. So once Crystal finally has the goal to get it and really start doing some damage, he's going to be a lot better at picking any sort of engagement that Snake wants, whether or not to push or trying to go for the third dragon now that they've equaled them up each. Like, they do have a bit of a power drop here to try and farm through, but the longer they wait, the worse it gets, because World Elite's Cassin in particular is already powering up, and so is the very tanky Noah.
Yeah, no, it's really, really true. And Corki now going back does have enough to pick up that Trinity Force, and you can see, in fact, this bottom tower very, very low here as well. And the gold, nothing to speak of here at the same time. I mean, 800, I mean, nothing.
No, it's not a bad lead. Both teams have a dragon as well, but no turrets. And that's probably the big thing here is which team gets the first turrets and which turrets do they get to take here. Snake have a lot of very good turret pressure with Victor Corki. We've actually seen this combination quite a bit when we've seen Victor, but STY's all the pressure. He gets the first turret.
Yeah, you have to think that that one's going to be answered pretty quickly here as Crystal comes through now with the Trinity Force completed. Very even here as far as the farm is concerned, and STYZ picks up the Infinity Edge. But 2 kills to 1 death, things looking dangerous, and there's the combo from Ninja actually doing a lot of damage here.
Yeah, Cassin's starting to really ramp up, and we've seen Ninja's Cassin before in one of World Elite's earlier wins last week. He's a very good mid lane Cassin player. Remember, Aluka does not play this champion, so as soon as they picked it, Snake knew that it was a mid lane Cassin, but so far he's had a very strong early laning phase. And UJ has a bit of an aggressive freeze.
Yeah, really tries to go for it, protects his turret for as long as possible, just make sure that Crystal comes down and does the work. You know, you've got to do that. You know, just make sure that the AD carry comes in. Just don't just let the minions do it, mate. Come on.
And does get it, thankfully. So a bit of gold they're going through, but that gold lead that World Elite have, it's actually basically all STYZ versus Corki. So he's in a good spot to really try and carry through this game.
Yeah, and he's, you know, I mean, the lead isn't exactly massive here at 500 gold, but it just shows that, I mean, Crystal's been able to keep up in that farm.
Yeah, it was at one point. I think the 800 gold that you mentioned earlier was basically all of the lead that Lucian had there. But Spirit's in the top side now.
Yeah, Flandre actually trying to twist it and advance his way to safety. The Ignite's burning. Ninja just W's him in the face, and so much burst down.
Yeah, very nicely played actually by Flandre, but Ninja plenty of mobility left with the flash up. But Aluka!
Oh my goodness, Beast just gets gnarred into the wall there. The biggest black shield in the world going to be on him. Aluka, though, getting burnt down here a little bit. Gravity Field trying to do some work as Chaos Storm sort of just hanging out under this turret. Spirit goes in very deep as Dark Binding doesn't quite land. Soul Shackles are there as well. The Monsoon was out from Ella was fantastic, but Ninja, he's happy to bounce back into the fight, and the Force Pulse is just getting silly now that this Rod of Ages is stacking up.
Yeah, great rotation in there from World Elite, especially STYC and UJ coming through from the bottom side of the map and making sure that they were there for that fight. And you said it, Ninja now 3-0-0 on this casting with the roller still ticking up. He's cleaned up every single skirmish so far.
Yeah, he really has. It's looking great, and it's only going to get worse for Snake here as Ninja, I mean, that item stacks up. He's probably sitting on some bank here as well if we have a look at the gold. Goodness me, Ninja really starting to pull ahead. 1,700 golds. He can go back and pick up that needlessly large rod, and you have to think that that is going to spell difficult times for Snake.
Yeah, just to clarify as well, we're currently 6 minutes through the charge time there for Rod of Ages for Ninja, so only 4 to go here. He had it quite early. He's going to be very strong once that stacks up in about 5 minutes' time.
Yeah, really, really brutal stuff. And Ninja, I mean, we've been talking about the fact that World Elite have now been able to rely on this mid laner. He's looking so much better than he was in early weeks.
Yeah, his Kasten has looked great. I mean, even his Anivia's look good. Even the Cho'Gath and stuff that he's played like that. Ninja's just started becoming just a much better player, period. And it shows here. WOD Elite needed a secondary carry, and both SDYZ and Ninja off to great starts.
Yeah, Ella, though, in a lot of trouble here as the Cataclysm going to come through. Of course, is still Janus, so is going to be fine. Beast gets caught by the Dark Binding, though. Ninja coming around. There's the Chaos Storm. Spirit might die as Crystal comes in. He is going to finally fall down. Ninja in a lot of trouble. Is going to have to get out of there as the Chaos Storm finally dissipates. Dark Binding going to find Crystal, but Yuji probably doesn't want to close that distance. And don't know how Ella survived, but still going 1-for-1.
Yeah, Crystal's so aggressive. Unfortunately, Beast paid the price there, but they will be able to get a tower for themselves. But this is where Snake like to play. They love to be on the front foot, constantly play into their opponents. I mean, Crystal's a fairly aggressive AD carry. We haven't seen him play Corki, I don't believe, yet in the LPL, but you can bet he's going to be doing a lot more aggressive Valkyrie.
Yeah, well, that's true. Does have an extra pickaxe on top of that Trinity Force and Sorcerer's Shoes pickup. Not sure how I forgot the name Trinity Force because, of course, pretty consistently picked up item.
Yeah, especially on a champion like Corki, but, you know, Crystal's been getting stronger. SDYZ, though, is definitely not falling behind. Looks like Ghostblade might be his second choice here, which is just a fantastic cost-efficient Lucian item. Going to combo nicely with his Infinity Edge as well, because it does give a little bit of crit among other stats, but SDYZ is very strong at this stage of the game, still consistently ahead of Crystal, and Snake need to keep finding fights that they're happy with, honestly, and Victor is the big one. They need to set him up.
Oh, yeah, and this Victor's just been getting picked on here. I mean, it doesn't quite show in the scoreline, but you can see in the farm the fact that Ninja managed to survive the entire leveling up of that Rod of Ages. As Dragon's going to fall down here for World Elite, but the fight's on. Barker goes down incredibly low very quickly. Not quite dead, though, as Aluka was standing in that gravity field. Ninja still very healthy. Can be quite dangerous as that Riftwalk's going to come back up, but he uses it defensively as Snake are able to cause World Elite to back out. There's the Twisted Advance. Flandre goes for a white. Look at all of the AoE and the Chaos Storm to come through here as well. Crystal now with a double kill. Yuji so incredibly low. Triple kill for Crystal. SDYZ going down so low at this stage. Oh my goodness. Ella picks up the kill as Crystal dies, but 4 for 2. Snake still got it.
Yeah, Snake are absolutely unbelievably good at team fighting, and it showed there. I actually thought Barker had used his ulti already, but saved it for the re-engage, I think, in that fight there.
Re-engage.
And just came in and blew everyone up. Ninja tried to find a spot, but an amazing gravity field at the start of the fight kept everyone back, and Snake played that perfectly. In fact, we're going to see it again. It was that good. So the Dragon does come down here, and Flandre is just zoning so well with the ulti. A good flash out from Barker, and that gravity field right on top of Aluka did so much work. And from now, it's just Beast and Flandre zoning World Elite out. Crystal's coming in for damage, and he eventually just Valkyries in aggressively and goes in. Flandre still chasing Snake. Know they have a fight they can win. Good, almost 5-man knock up there with the Arcane Smash. And here's Crystal going in. The Chaos Storm finally moves in for Victor, and it's just clean up city from this point for Snake.
Yeah, really beautiful stuff. And you just saw, like, that big one rocket from Crystal straight onto everyone of World Elite. And that was what turned that fight around. And that's what Snake needed, of course, because the team fights or the skirmishes hadn't been going very well. And we know that Snake just really, really good at these 5v5s.
They're amazing at 5v5s, whether it's observing cooldowns, understanding positioning, peeling for Crystal, even on a more of a mid-game centric AD carry like Corki. They just fight as a team so well, especially when moving forward. And that was a very forward-moving Snake fight.
Oh, yeah. Crystal, though, hanging out here on the top side. Aluka might be in a bit of trouble. Has that pink ward there for defense, as he's about to evolve into the Mega Gnar here as well. Twisted Advance. Aluka just gets kicked back into the team. There's the Gnar actually stunning up Ella as the rest of World Elite finally come around. That Soul Shackles is going to get a couple of stuns here as well as Ninja's finally in the fight. And can World Elite turn this one on its head? The Cataclysm to land. Spirit, though, not quite as tanky as he wants to be as the Howling Gale comes through, and Beast, he's going to be tanking up that culling as Flandre finally falls down. Crystal now in the front line trying to get the work done. Aluka falls to Barker, and SDYZ, sorry dude, you are definitely dead as Beast continues forward. Crystal, of course, my gosh, he is so aggro. Is he going to go for this dive as well?
He's going in.
He is. The Gatling gun trying to do some work, but not going to get too far on that one, and Snake even out the kills.
Well, I did warn you, Crystal's a very aggressive player, especially on a champion like Corki, and it shows here 5-3-3 after having a fairly quiet laning phase.
Yeah.
And it's just exploding here. Flandre tanks so much damage in that team fight here. And Spirit, he's got some good initiations, but Aluka got way too low, used his ulti too early, and they couldn't line up the big Narvan combo. Had to kind of go into defense mode and reactively try and fight. And Snake are very good at picking you apart when you team fight sloppily.
Oh, yeah, and now they've forged themselves a 2,000 gold lead. I mean, they're still down 2 dragons. That is a big deal, but you have to think now with the extra combat stats that they're going to pick up from the shop with this extra money, that next dragon might be a possibility here for Snake, especially considering the fact that their team fights have just looked so good.
Yeah, and they do have 1 dragon, thankfully, so it's only 2 for 1 up for World Elite. So the second one they really want to contest here because the movement is just such a good dragon. That third dragon's so important here. And it's pretty funny to me that the 6% dragon actually seems quite good with Victor because he's already scaling up with the Hex core as well. And you can see that looks like a Rabadon's going to be coming through here for Baka. That is a lot of flat damage, adding to it someone that's already doing quite a lot of flat damage.
Yeah, and Baka actually went for that Hex core evolution very early on and then went for Morellonomicon, then went for his Death Cap. We'll see whether he decides to upgrade that one yet again sooner or later. Of course, it does give you far more scaling AP. It is ridiculous as far as a flat AP item is concerned. I think it gives you like 180 or something like that, level 18 once it's fully evolved. It's really silly.
Yeah, not sure on the exact number, but it's a lot, and it makes sense because it does take up an item slot in your inventory, so has to be worthwhile in some ways here. And he hasn't upgraded twice, like you mentioned. Just the first augment, which is actually called, I think, Augmentation Aftershock for anybody playing League of Legends Trivia at home. But he's doing a lot of flat damage already with the Death Ray, which is the bulk of his early damage especially. So doesn't really need the mobility. Pretty much his team's already setting him up for good Death Rays and ultis that he just kind of needs to walk in with his flat AP and make sure he hits the key targets.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is that the perfect Hex core that a lot of people don't necessarily go for gives you an extra 20% movement speed on that Chaos Storm, which can be super effective against the likes of Ninja, who can move around very fast. Of course, Gnar with his bounce, Spirit with his ability to flag and drag his way around, and Lucian with his relentless pursuit. Having an ability to get your ultimate onto these targets consistently is very important.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. Most Victors seem to use it sort of as an upfront burst. They literally just plop it on top of a group of people
exactly.
and let the initial burst damage come down and, you know, kind of chase a bit of consistent
like
damage.
old Rumble Equalizer.
Yeah, a lot like old Rumble Equalizer. That's actually a great way to put it. But it's funny to me that we've seen so little Victor, and he's actually done so well that we've never really seen mid to late game Victor. So if we do get to that point in this game, Baka could explode some people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be taking notes. I've been trying to pick up the Victor myself. No idea how to use him in a team fight at all. Just no idea.
We actually do have one interesting adaptation here. Baka is going for Distortion upgrade on his Sork Shoes before finishing his Death Cap. Now, he wouldn't have had enough for the Death Cap just on the upgrade alone. He's only got 200 extra gold in his bank right now, but he decided instead of going for the big Fury enchant, which has been very popular, actually just going for a bit more Summoner, basically Summon spell cooldowns for instant mobility with the Flash and Ghost here, which signals to me that Baka might not get his upgrade until very late.
Yeah, it could be very interesting, but there's going to be the Sonic Wave on a Ninja. He can't kick back a target with a Black Shield, and Aluka's now into this fight, not quite having the evolve just yet, as that was a nice Monsoon to try and break apart this fight. Crystal, though, almost untouched in the backline, and Spirit's going so low. Baka picks up the kill, and World Elite now on the run. SCYZ and UJ now in the firing line for Crystal, who's able just to get the DPS down from the backline. The exhaust on SCYZ and Snake, they never stop chasing you, as SCYZ has to go between 2 of his turrets to survive.
And you called it a nice Monsoon that might have undersold just how well Ella played that team fight. Whether it's enabling a hyper carry or just letting Crystal be even more aggressive on a champion like Corki, Ella's Janna is just incredible.
Yeah, and we can understand now why he's been playing Janna so incredibly much. In their last 3 games, of course, picking up that champion, he is just brilliant. And Baka coming around just to try and clear out this wave. Ninja and STYZ not able to get that one as Dragon falls down for the 2nd time for Snake. The 4th time on the map, though, of course, as they even out that objective. And STYZ looking to pick up a huge wave in the top lane.
Yeah, I mean, he's still doing well as this Lucian. Remember, 3-2-5 with 250 CS almost at 27 minutes. A fine score here, but Crystal's been going off in the last few team fights, and we're going to see one more Crystal fight again. So Beast comes in, tries to get Ninja back. Unfortunately, was Black Shielded, so good use there by Morgana, but just look at the Monsoon here coming through. Disengages everything there, and the fight just splits up completely. Spirit dived in the back and just created additional terrain towards Baka that they didn't need, and Baka was basically focused, but they couldn't do anything, and Crystal got ignored, and this is what happened. He's so fed that he's able to clean up here, so I'm not too sure about World Elite's target prioritization there, because Crystal to me is the real threat, even though Baka looks very scary.
Yeah, and this was Crystal building that sort of awkward Last Whisper second build as well, which a lot of Chinese players decide to build, and I personally disagree with it, but he's sort of starting to sell me on the item choice.
I mean, I get why a lot of people don't like the build. It doesn't do a whole lot for Corki, just as a general thing. We know he scales well with Trinity Force. That one makes a lot of sense. Infinity Edge was popular for a while just because of the crits that you could get, but of course with that being nerfed, it's not as popular. Bloodthirst has been the go-to choice for so many players because it just gives Corki everything he wants. He's a short-range, almost brawler-style AD carry, kind of like Graves, and he already does enough mixed damage that the flat AD is good. It helps with your passive, and the extra shield lets you be in short range all the time and be more aggressive with your Valkyries and your Gatling guns. But last Whisper, it's usually a necessity rather than a choice, and Crystal just felt like there's a little too much tankiness on the World Elite side.
Yeah, and they're sort of interesting just because he does so much mixed damage. That's sort of my only reasoning behind it. But of course, I'm not the analyst. That would be you. And of course, I'm definitely not as good as Crystal. And he's been sort of proving that you can certainly utilize this 2-item spike, even if it is that last Whisper.
Yeah, he's actually got a BT coming up very swiftly now with a 3rd item as well, after he's sort of snowballed quite a few teamfights. And Beast trying to catch out Spirit.
Looking to try and catch it. Hasn't actually used his ultimate yet, thankfully, onto the black shielded target. As Spirit is going to be able to limp away from this one. Beast actually taking the worst of that trade and now looking to reset this engagement. You can see both of these teams still very, very close as far as that gold is concerned, but things starting to turn around as far as the trend in this game is concerned for World Elite, as a fair bit of gold now sitting in the back pockets of mostly Crystal.
Yeah, this game's very close still. I mean, Crystal does have some gold to spend, but both SDYZ and him are actually quite equal on gold. The same is true for the mid laner also. And I don't know, I've never had to answer this question, so I guess I'm curious to find out, but I don't know who I'd rather have, a Fed Cassidy or a Fed Victor. And I think in this instance, I'd probably rather have a Cassidy just because of how good his mobility is. And the fact that STYZ's also got damage, I mean, sure, Corki does too, but if we're going to batch like 2 carries into each other here, Lucian and Corki kind of cancel each other out, but I have to think that Cassidy is just slightly more valuable than Victor.
Yeah, I mean, and Cassidy has always been sort of, as far as the data that we have on hand, always has been just a really reliable hyper carry mid laner and struggles a little bit in the early stages of the game, but then only gets stronger and stronger, whereas Victor hasn't had very much time to prove himself in any regard thus far. And I personally think that he's one of the best champions in the game, but I'm also crazy.
Well, a little bit maybe, but Peace actually might get caught out. Does hop away, though.
Yeah, Boomerang going to find him.
In regards to Victor, though, I don't know. That's like you said, we don't actually have a good answer for late game Victor yet, because all the Victor games we've seen have been quite one-sided. So this is maybe the first time where Barker, we've seen his proficiency on champions like Azir, his late-game teamfight control Xerath. We'll see what he can do on Victor. Yeah,
and of course, you know, it's similar to Azir as well, because you're using a lot of abilities all the time. You're really trying to weave in skill shots, and it's difficult. Playing Victor is not an easy thing. Of course, it's like you've got to use an equalizer every 8 seconds, and that ability is just ridiculous anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Bucky is probably super ballers, like smart casting it as well. Like one hand just doesn't even care. Like the guys are really good. So
he does play a bit one-handed, you know, of course did for a couple of weeks, I have to think.
Not intentionally, I don't think. But
no.
Everyone is getting a lot stronger here on both sides, and we're going to have some sort of big team fight soon. Barker going to clean out some minions in the top, and most notably, World Elite still don't have this mid turret yet.
Yeah, they do now, I guess. They are going to be able to rotate all 5 members, pick that one up as Barker was clearing out that top wave, as you mentioned. But that's going to mean that Barker has closed that CS gap and then some here on this Victor. So we'll see whether he decides to upgrade that Hex Core again or whether he's going to go for maybe that Void Staff is his next option. Of course, that makes Victor very, very squishy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking through just items in general, and like, again, it's super even in this game. So if we think a little bit more now about the team comps that are being presented here, the late game 5v5 team fighting probably is in World Elite's favor, just because Cassidy is so strong. Lucian's very serviceable, especially with Morgana to help back him up, and Narvan's amazing as far as big team fights go. But Snake have won a lot of fights that are kind of scrappy with a lot more skirmish based to them by using the Flandre's Maokai to chase people down and then sort of move back and forth and kite with Ella's Janna. So if World Elite can get any sort of big 5v5 engage where Nar and Jarvan are able to combo properly, that's a fight they win. But Snake are really good at chasing through picks and dodging in and out of team fights, that, especially at this stage of the game where it's still quite even, but not everyone's scaled up massively. Snake, if they play the fights like they have been, still have a very strong edge at this point in the game.
Yeah, it's sort of like as soon as they start a fight with a pick, something like that, it's just their in-team fight shot calling that's just so beautiful. And the fact that they can all just target switch exactly when they need to as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, they observe every element of a team fight absolutely perfectly. And that's true of a lot of Chinese teams. They're some of the best team fighters in the world. They understand all the intricacies there well. But Snake might be the best team fighting team in China, which is a big thing to say with the likes of OMG and EDG at the top as well.
It's true, but Speaking of which, Snake now looking to set something up around this next dragon, which has just respawned. Of course, World Elite, no interest in it at all. They're heading towards the Baron.
Yeah, they realize that Snake are like, uh-oh, the Baron's up. We forgot. Even Ella's actually moving over to check now as well. So Snake will actually get the dragon, doing a good job of cleaning out vision. There's good aggressive vision towards the World Elite red buff as well. So they've got a lot of room around there. And now the Baron back up. Snake with their third dragon now, with the Janna especially, going to rotate very quickly with those 2 buffs.
Yeah, and you have to think now, you know, Barker, we were talking about the fact that he loves movement speed so much, that extra 5% definitely going to be helping him out here as he picked that one up from getting that third dragon. And World Elite sort of trading Baron vision for dragon, probably not a great trade.
Yeah, I guess my big question is Snake are doing something here. They're waiting a long time to pick any more fights. They've actually got at least good vision on the bottom side of the map, and there are only 6 towers felled in this game. So there's tier 2s up for everyone that people can potentially pressure, but playing very strictly around their objectives. And there's a lot of gold banked between Barker and Crystal in general. Crystal's something like 2.5k. Sorry, Barker, has 2.5k banked already, and Crystal's got 1,100 gold or so. So they're waiting for some purchases. Looks like there's the first one. Void Staff does get complete by Victor.
Yeah, fantastic work. So Barker, he's scaling up into this game. We'll see when Crystal does decide to go back. He probably wants to pick up the QSS, if I remember correctly, as far as what Crystal does like to pick up. He loves having that item just so that he doesn't get caught by these Dark Bindings or stray Nars coming through and things like that. We'll see whether it is going to be the Banshee's Veil instead. Just goes for sort of more guaranteed spell deflection.
I mean, one or the other is great because UJ has been playing fantastically as well. And we've talked a lot about Ella's Janna so far in these fights, but UJ's bindings, especially in the earlier part of this game, were amazing. So everyone's playing very well. The gold lead's really simple. It's actually dead even pretty much between these two. Snake just have a dragon up, and Baron is now the big objective that both these teams want.
Yeah, and of course, when you get to this stage, both teams so even, and they know how even this game is. Of course, they can see the fact that, you know, there's nothing in as far as the kill score is concerned, nothing in this these turrets as well. Yeah, it's all on a knife edge as to who can win these fights because it comes down to execution almost entirely.
Yeah, and Snake just have a little tougher of a time actually initiating fights, I think is the problem. Flandre is the sole initiator basically of this team, and he's super tanky, but he has trouble getting on top of a carry especially without something like a talisman on Janna, although he does have the Righteous Glory, so can't get himself in there. But Maokai Engage is very one-dimensional. Yeah. And Snake have much better reactive tools. So when World Elite were fighting them, Snake were much happier, and when they were moving them through kind of small pockets of jungle and picking them off, that was good. But World Elite, to their credit, have not picked a silly fight around a really tight choke point for a long time in this game. And Snake look lost about how to try and get to the next step in this game.
And it is going to be 4 items now for STYZ on this Lucian. He has finished that Bloodthirster, and that could spell some time to fight here for World Elite potentially. But we'll see what does happen as there's going to be an extra BF sword here for Crystal. So he doesn't even care about continuing down that defensive path with that Null Magic Mantle. He just wants to get more damage.
So he might be going Mercurial, actually, which would be sort of interesting. But, I mean, BF Sword, he definitely needs a bit more damage here to keep up with STYZ, who, like you mentioned, had just gotten to the 4-item spike range. And Ninja's powering up as well. He actually has a elixir in his inventory as well. So I think they do want to fight now, but Beast is going in.
Yeah, he's popped that elixir as well as Ninja comes around the backside. UJ in there with the Soul Shackles. Doesn't quite find anything, though, as Beast is still alive. STYZ just free hitting on him as in the backline. That's a triple Gnar coming through as World Elite. They're tearing this fight apart. Flandre, the only man alive, and he's flashing out. Baron just wants to get involved, really. He just wants to have some sort of part in this one, and World Elite, they'll let him as they're going to take down the Baron as well as that 4-0 team fight.
Yeah, 4 clean kills there for World Elite, and what a fight as well. Beast so clever to come in, aggress onto STYZ, and then kick UJ back and try and get a free kill and start a 5v4, but World Elite held on. Ninja did exactly what he meant to do and dived straight into the backline, and that flank from Aluka just wrecked Snake there. They were on top of everything until that Gnar ult happened, and Aluka finally comes up big in a team fight.
Yeah, really huge. And we've seen Aluka, especially recently, with clutch plays on especially that champion. Now let's have a look again. And kicking a Morgana in, is that ever really a good idea?
I mean, if they could get a clean kill, it's smart, but Ninja jumps immediately over. Spirit actually blocks off the carries as well. Ella's forced to use Monsoon quite early. Ninja actually zombies through the exhaust as well, and there's Aluka's ulti. Just scoops all of the carries up, and World Elite just wreck them with the AoE that they have.
Yeah, and I mean, utilizing STYZ's beautiful power spike here as well with his 4 damage item, that he just completed. He just tore through Beast. I mean, Beast's got Randuins, he's got so much health here as well, and he just melted.
Yeah, I mean, World Elite knew that their timing was right now, right? I mean,
yeah.
Lucian was powered up. He's not going any more aggressive items, it seems like. So you might as well fight while you can. Forward stuff wasn't complete for Ninja, but he was very strong already. And it just was a good fight. Snake, again, they don't have any good proactive tools here. So when they're waiting around the Baron trying to get a pick, Beast tried to do something in that game, but all he could do was try and keep Morgana in, and that just started the fight for World Elite.
Yeah, and actually Ninja just finished that Rabbidan's death cap, so he's only going to be even more scary entering the next fight that could break out here with a Baron buff on the side of World Elite. Spirit's just going to tank up this turret, let STYZ have some free time here. Relentless Pursuit, and that Light Slinger just tears through these turrets. And, you know, it's been a while since we really saw all that much Lucian. Of course, Imp played it just recently, but otherwise hasn't really seen too much, and he just rips through towers and structures in general.
Yeah, smart play actually from Aluka as well, who now joins him in the bottom side as they'll take that inhibitor. He was in the mid helping that push, and Crystal was actually in the top lane farming there and finally got his way back. Dragon back in 15 seconds as well. World Elite should pick up their third here, and Snake are just they're running out of good answers here. They were already sort of running out of steam in the mid game by having only realistically Maokai to get themselves in, but now that they're behind significantly in gold and soon to be objectives, Snake, they basically have to hope that World Elite come at them and make a big mistake.
Yeah, or that, you know, they can get another beautiful team fight in the position that they want, but it's looking more and more difficult as we move towards this later stage of the game because, of course, World Elite now have so many options as they have that bottom inhibitor down, and, you know, Baron's going to be up in another, 6 minutes or something like that. They'll just take that inhibitor again and then head over there and just get an easy Baron. And I guess now with Flandre picking up a Thornmail on this Maokai, he might be a little bit tankier in this front line, but he's just been ignored.
I mean, you're right. It just doesn't matter. He didn't even die in the last big team fight, but they killed everyone else, and that's the problem. Like, even if there wasn't a decent gold deficit here, and World Elite didn't have Baron, and if it was a bit more even, like it was before that Baron fight, Snake have the same problem. They have no split pusher, so they can't split World Elite up, and World Elite are never splitting up again to let Snake actually beat them. Like, Snake only do well in fights when they're able to pick people up from World Elite. Beast fought so hard to try and get a pick onto Ninja, and World Elite with his group together are able to start a 5v5. Like, there's like a fundamental problem at this point in the game that Snake just can't really approach World Elite because they're never splitting up. If they always present a 5v5, Snake can never opt into it.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, I guess the one shining light that you can say about Snake is the fact that Crystal has finished off that Infinity Edge. I mean, that was, a 2,300 gold purchase that he had to wait for because of that Null Magic Mantle sitting there. So, this Corki is powering up. He's matched the 4 items that STYZ has got as far as the offense is concerned. We'll just see whether they can translate that into one team fights because so far hasn't been looking great as far as that last fight was concerned, especially. Yeah,
Ninja's the big problem here, actually. I mean, Flandre's doing a decent job trying to split push a bit here, but and he'll get some work done keeping super minions off his in here, but really he's just trying to buy some time for his team, which is all Snake want right now. But, I mean, if they can't kill Ninja, and Ninja's got really nothing to worry about apart from Janna, and part of the reason Kassadin's good is because he's good against Janna, because it's so impossible for Janna to realistically keep Kassadin off you the whole time. Like, they don't have good tools to deal with Ninja. I do like the Mikhails here from Ella. He almost always builds it to protect Crystal, which makes a lot of sense. And Azonus would go a long way here for Baka, but they still have to find a fight that's favorable for them, and that is the tricky part.
Yeah, and of course, World Elite still continuing to put the pressure on, especially here on this top side. Haven't managed to take much damage off this inner turret as Beast is going to get caught by that Dark Binding. Takes half of his health here as well as that Howling Gale tries to disengage things. UJ taking a lot of damage from these rockets, these combinations from Crystal to come through, but Beast forced to go back to base. World Elite now just looking for their entrance into the Snake base.
Yeah, this is something I've always loved about Snake, is that even when they're down, and they're certainly down in this game, they still fight to the best of their ability. They'll throw themselves at the enemy, finding the best team fights they can, and honestly often lose because they're too far behind and they can't catch up, or their team con doesn't sync up that well, and they just don't have enough of an advantage to really pull it through. Like, they'll still fight spectacularly, so if World Elite do make some more mistakes, and to their credit, they're playing very carefully because they know that that's one of the potential issues. If World Elite give Snake a window, they'll take it immediately.
Yeah, well, exactly, and we'll just see whether that window actually ever appears here in this game, because thus far, it's looked a little bit dangerous. Of course, the likes of Barker sitting here on this Victor, he does almost have enough money to finish off that Zhonya's Hourglass, which may help them out in the next fight. But no, he doesn't have anywhere near it.
No, it
I was lying to you.
About 400 gold off the arm guard, I think, there as well. So probably 1,700, 1,800 gold off the item total. So does need about 1,000 more gold in his bank to really get that item going. And that would help here. Cassidy, again, is really insanely strong at this point in the game, but World Elite, they're taking their time. I know it looks like they're playing carefully because they are, but it's important that they do make sure they never give Snake an opening, because Snake are very good at exploiting teams that make mistakes against them.
Yeah, well, it's true. And it seems like World Elite, they don't want to be one of the teams that does make a mistake, because they're playing this later stage of the game very slow. And I guess the gold lead, not as much as you'd otherwise expect here from a team that just sort of went 4 for nothing in a team fight and took Baron. It's only about 5,000.
Yeah, and Snake do have wiggle room in this game for sure. We already highlighted Crystal. He does a lot of damage right now. He's maxed out basically, much like STYZ as far as damage goes. So the biggest difference from there, given that both teams have 2-threat comps, is the fact that Cassidy is quite far ahead of Baka.
Yeah, and there's wards about to appear over at this Baron. Aluka taking a lot of damage from the big purple Snake as World Elite looking to head around and try and close something out. Spirit and Ninja are around here. Beast is actually going to face check Spirit. Safeguards his way to safety. Going to lose a Krug for it, though, and that's always depressing.
Always bad to lose a Krug there, but World Elite will continue applying pressure. They've got good deep vision in the top side of the map as well, and STYZ keeps cleaning up minions. Flandre as well is also cleaning him out in there, and Hib is back in the bottom side, so if they want to defend this Baron, they can, but we talked about the mid laner. Ninja's actually 3,000 gold ahead of Baka right now.
Yeah, Darkbinding going to find Baka here as well, as Spirit looking to try and flag and drag his way in. Nullsphere takes off half the health of Baka. That was ridiculous. Aluka, he's evolved here at the same time, throwing houses around this fight. As Ninja just looking for his way to start this one off. You can see, man, Baka's just so squishy on this Victor.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it. Victor, a very squishy champion. No Zhonya's here for him to try and help. Ninja might get caught here, though.
Yeah, well, Beast might get caught as well. As UJ going to find a Dark Binding over the wall. Spirit just going to jump onto Beast here. As Twisted advance on a Spirit. This might be the pick that they're looking for. Baka just gets destroyed by Ninja. You can see Crystal's gone down as well. The carries, they're dead for Snake as Flandre's just trying to make a menace of himself. Beast is getting chased by STYZ. Ella's most definitely dead. And World Elite, they don't bother with a Baron. This could just be the game.
Yeah, Flandre actually still in the Mackay fighting, but again, they're going to ignore him one more time. Beast is too low to defend. Flandre is, whatever, just getting chased by Luca. They'll have their fun for now, but STYs are going to push back in this mini wave, and these death timers are very long.
They are 40 seconds on every member of Snake that's managed to die thus far, and Snake with this 2-threat comp, the fact that World Elite can jump onto anyone that they want based on, like, from very, very safe initiation with that black Dark Binding. Oh man, it's just so frightening here for Snake, and Aluka and Flandre just stop it.
I think they might be fighting like till the start of the next game at this point, because World Elite want to finish it.
Yeah, it's looking pretty dangerous as Beast. He's just going to watch his Nexus turrets fall down. The last one is about to fall, and World Elite, what a beautiful match. And Ninja, 11-0-3. That is insane.
Yeah, just put the carry punts on the Cassino once again here, and that whole game was basically on Ninja. STYZ played great on Lucian, had a fantastic game, played very safe, got ahead of his landing crystal, was able to do plenty of good mid-game damage, but at the end of the day, that Cassidy just got absolutely fat here in this game. So big. And I mean, Snake's team comp, very good at going forward, not very good at going backwards. Could never get Ninja out of their face.
Yeah, and you were talking about the fact that, you know, Beast got banned out in the last series that they played. Snake looked incredibly uncomfortable. Baka now getting banned out in this series, looking really uncomfortable, not being able to make this Xerath work. And Cassidy, he's just such a powerful pick at the moment, and I don't think World Elite are going to get that one again, and we'll see whether they can continue the momentum from this first game.
And I believe that Snake have yet to win a game where they don't get Jarvan or Noon. That might not be exactly true, but when the teams take them against them in recent memory, they lose. They've lost twice already when that happened. They didn't get them both banned, but one of them got picked away when they had the option to pick it. So Snake need a different solution here. If World Elite keep going on the same train, if Ninja gets Cassidy like that again, Snake are going to find themselves on the end of another 0-2.
Yeah, but we are going to have a quick break, ladies and gentlemen, but we'll be back.